2008?
2009.
2009 Ford
Flex.
We're gonna do a front brake job. Just take a little look around and see some of the things we got on the ground in preparation for the job. So we got a jack. We're gonna either use this floor jack that you can buy at any AutoZone or someplace like that for about $25. We'll use that in combination with the jack that came with the car. Right, I got my tool set right here, set up. This is actually the handle for the jack over there. Imperative that anytime you're working on a car and you're lifting it up off the ground, you want to always have yourself a pair of jack stands like these on the floor right here. And they're cheap. It's cheap insurance. You never want to have a car up on a jack and you underneath it working, because the jack is not as reliable as a pair of jack stands. Right, so we got the jack stands. You notice under this driver's side wheel right here, we got wheel chocks. And so that's going to keep the car from rolling once we get the front end up off the ground. And that's important too, because the car will roll off the jack stand if it's not supported properly. Right? So we got those things in place. And in preparation for doing a brake job, we want to always find the brake fluid reservoir. And it's a good idea to just be checking it anyway. We can see now, if you look, you can see that the brake fluid is low, which is indicative of, the need of, brake pads or whatever. When the brake pads go down, the hydraulic fluid moves through the system and it goes down too, to compensate for the less brake pads. We want to take that off because we're going to be compressing the calipers, and that will be pushing the fluid back out. And so we want to, be able to relieve that pressure, right? So we always take the brake caliper or brake fluid reservoir off, right? So with that, we're just gonna get started. One thing I want to note is that anytime you're getting ready to take a wheel off of a car, the best thing to do is loosen the lug nuts before you lift it up, because if you lift it up first, then the wheel's gonna turn. Obviously, it won't have the friction of being on the ground. So I'm gonna do that real quick. If you want to pause the camera, do that. One of the things to note when you doing anything with a car, or trying to loosen any kind of difficult bolt, you want to use your body weight as as an advantage, right? So as opposed to trying to pull up on this difficult nut, and possibly when it does break free, I'm flying this way. Instead, I'm gonna push down and accomplish the same thing. I might even have to use my foot. That was a real difficult one to break it free, right?
Yeah.
But we just want to, make sure that we're, being conscious of the way our body's moving and what's going to happen once that nut actually breaks free, so we don't injure ourselves doing something, something like this.
Okay.
The thing I want to illustrate right here is when you jack the car up, normally the jack that comes with the car, the factory jack, will have a sort of a lip or something that indicates, where it connects with the car. Now, this right here is the car's jack point. There's a thin rail. You can see my hand running along it right here. And on the jack, there's actually a receptacle that fits right around that thin rail. And there's an indentation right here on either side to let you know exactly where to put the jack. And so you want to put the jack there, and that's where you want to use as a jack point in the car. You want to get the car just to the point where you can, where you can roll the wheel, where the wheel's up off the ground, and then place the jack stand in place.
And if I may add, the reason why this lesson is so beautiful and well received is because if this lesson isn't well received, this is what happens to a vehicle if you don't put the jack in the right place. If you just put it underneath the frame of the vehicle,
that's how that
it'll
happens.
just fall under the weight of it. So that's why that lesson is well received.
True indeed, true indeed. I didn't know that was just
Oh man, that was a bad thing right there.
Yeah. Would you have a flat or something?
Yeah, man, I had a flat, and I put it under I didn't put it under the lip proper. You know what I mean? And boom, that joint is like
perfect example. And
perfect example.
Another good reason why you need to have jack stand. Because if you accidentally misplaced the jack, that could have been a situation that would have been, really bad if the car actually fell off and onto somebody. You underneath the car,
Yeah.
The jack is in the wrong place.
True indeed.
Jack stands.
True
You know,
indeed.
because even a jack will, it'll move. Jack stand got 4 legs on it, it ain't gonna move.
So the parable of the story that although it was bad, it could have fallen and been deaf.
Oh man.
So
yeah, that's a serious, that's a 3,000-pound vehicle right
true
there.
indeed. True indeed.
And,
Words of wisdom.
That's what it is. All right, let's get back to it.
Back to it.
All right. So likewise, if you don't have a factory jack like this, like I said, you can always use a floor jack that you can get. And actually, sometimes a floor jack can be a little more reliable. Factory jacks have a tendency to wear out over time. So eventually, when you get a new car, you'll end up buying a nice floor jack. I'm going to show you in a second just what that lip looks like on the factory jack. Alright. So see that groove right there? That's made specifically to fit on the rail underneath the bottom of the car. And so the jack won't slip off the car. Right? The car won't slip off the jack. So with that, we got one wheel up in the air.
One wheel up.
Let's go ahead and pop this off. Remember, we already unloosened the nuts. So now it's just a matter of, by hand mostly, you might need the lug wrench at some point. But for the most part, you can just spin those lug nuts off by hand. Okay, so lug nuts.
Lug nuts.
Now, one thing you'll see me do, I usually try to keep some kind of a blanket or something in my car, so if I do have to get on the ground, I don't have to get on the ground, especially on a cold day like today.
Peace.
Right? So, this is something I want to demonstrate for people. One, so you can save your back, and two, if you are, a smaller person or a teenager, or dare I say, of a feminine persuasion, whatever the case may be, if you don't really feel like you can lift this 75, 80-pound wheel, what you do, sit down on your bottom, put your feet around the wheel, and pull it off this way.
Wow.
Right? And save your back altogether. You don't really have to be doing all of that lifting. Just sit down on the ground and move it out of the way like that. And then, of course, you can just roll the wheel away.
Peace.
Be careful of the surface of the wheel, especially if you got a style wheel like this. You don't want to lay it on his face or lay it this way. And sometimes you might just for added security put it under the car. That way if something was to happen, somebody come and bump you from behind or whatever, it'll land on the wheel. You have some clearance.
Yeah.
In an emergency. Okay, so to the meat of the discussion, today we're going to be changing brake pads on this vehicle. The brake pads are located inside this unit right here, which is called a caliper. And if you remember from your 10-speed bike riding days, the caliper on your bike was the thing that went together like that and squoze on the side of the rim so you could stop. Same concept here. This is the side of your bicycle rim right here. And this is the caliper squeezing those brake pads together when you press the brake pedal. It squeezes those calipers together and squeezes the pad up against this rotor so you can stop.
Huge.
So what we're going to be doing is removing this caliper so we can access the brake pads. We're going to pull off the rotor and take it to get resurfaced. Now, when you look at your rotor, what you want to look for is really deep grooves, and you want to look for a big difference between the outer surface right here where the brake pad doesn't touch and this smooth surface right here where the brake pad does touch. So over time what will happen is this rotor will get thinner and thinner because it's being worn down by the brake pads. Usually you can go through 2 or 3 sets of brake pads before you have to change the rotor, right? And oftentimes you can take the rotor and have it resurfaced so it's perfectly smooth, and that's the best way to do a brake job. If you don't have that kind of time and the rotors don't have really deep grooves in them where you can feel, you could just put that rotor back on there and change the brake pads and you're in good shape. Alright, so
keep it economical.
yeah, man, for sure. I mean, you know, you do what you have to. So if you can move in right here before we go to a pause, there are 2 bolts on the inside of this brake caliper that we're going to be removing. There's a possibility you only have to remove one on your vehicle, and then it will rotate up on the other and it'll allow you to access, you know, all of the parts that you need to. I'm just getting ready to take this caliper off. I'm going to use a 17mm socket wrench with an extension on it. And I'm just going to brace myself in a way that I can use my body to release these screws. These are going to be pretty tough, and they should be because they're the brakes on the car. You got a question though?
Yeah, I had a question about the brake pads. I know when I went to purchase the brake pads, they had like 3 different levels. One was, you know, a lower level, and then they had like a ceramic mid-level, and then they had like a premium quality. Is that something that you should really invest on a premium for, or, you know, like, what's your view on that in terms of the 3 choices that you should go for when, you know, buying brakes?
Well, usually what they'll tell you is that the cheapest brake pads are going to create a bunch of brake dust. And you know what brake dust looks like. You look at your car, it needs to get washed. The front wheels got a bunch of grime, black grime on them, and the back wheels don't. Well, that's brake dust. And so the cheaper pads are definitely going to produce more brake dust. They're probably going to wear down faster. The middle grade pads are generally going to be ceramic, and so they're not going to create as much brake dust. They're going to, you know, be better wear for you, and that's the one that I usually choose. All 3 of them are going to stop the car. And one thing you might want to take a look at, most companies will offer a warranty, like a lifetime warranty. So if you save your old brake pads and the box that the new brake pads came in and the receipt, then every time you need brake pads, you can take those old brake pads back to the same store with your receipt in the box and get a new set of brake pads for free. So whatever you just paid for these brake pads right here, if you got that lifetime warranty, you ain't gonna never have to buy brake pads again.
Life lesson of also learning the importance of keeping the receipt, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. And that's true. A lot of companies like Napa will warranty like spark plug wires, brake pads, a lot of the, you know, general maintenance items, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, that you have to replace from time to time in the car. Some companies will offer a lifetime warranty. And the way they do that is, you know, they just keep you coming back to their store, so you're going to buy something like that. You know what I mean? So they'll offer you the brake pads basically for free. It's tough. Alright, so again, a lot of these bolts are going to be tough, and they should be, because they're holding your car together. And so, like you saw me shift my weight around and move to different places so I could, you know, strategically place myself and get the right kind of force. You know what I mean? So I'm not pulling to myself, and once it slips, I hit myself in the face with the tool. That happens to people sometimes. And so just pay attention to, you know, the way I'm doing that kind of thing so you can pick up those tips. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to pull this top bolt out. Brake caliper. So here are your brake pads right here. And if you're going to take out both bolts, and a lot of times you probably should take out both bolts, what you don't want to do is leave this hanging on this cable, because this is what your brake fluid flows through, right? And so you want to maintain this connection. It's not easy to replace that. And so the best thing to do is to put it up someplace, preferably maybe tie it or hang it with a hanger or something onto the spring so it doesn't fall and pull on this cable right here.